I feel a very strong sense of nostalgia as I stand here. I joined Mahindra in 91, and very shortly after that I started coming to the AutoExpo. I think I've been to all of them since then. So in a sense I almost feel I grew up on this kind of podium. And when you look back at that time, 91 to 93, that was a time when the auto industry was at a crossroads. Premier Motors was on its way out. Hindustan Motors also was sliding. And the first thing I heard, and yet here we are, 3 years later, 2018, we're still on the podium. We've survived against all odds. And I want to take this moment, if you don't mind, to thank the colleagues I've had the pleasure to work with. Alan Durant, who's not here, Pavan, Rajan. I want to thank you for allowing me the pleasure of coming here onto this podium, of making this company not just survive, but thrive. Thank you. Thank you to everyone in this team. We're at a crossroads again. And this is a very different one. In those days, the crossroads was, how do you build new products? How do you improve technology? And it usually was, every year, that kind of challenge. The challenge today in front of the auto industry, not just in India, globally, is how do we redefine our industry? And by redefine, I just don't mean saying we're now about mobility. I think the job of redefinition now is much greater. And as I thought about it, I must be honest, I took a little cue from our Prime Minister. If you remember recently, he came up with this phrase that his goal is not just ease of business. He talked about ease of living. And very frankly, I think that's how I would choose to also define how the auto industry must look at itself. The auto industry has to put itself in a larger context. It's not simply about transportation, moving from point A to point B. It's not just about mobility. People want better lives. They want to improve the quality of their lives. And how do we, as car companies, help the ease of living? How do we improve the quality of life? And I think there are two contexts in which you have to look at that. One context is an urban, metro-centric concept, and the next one is a non-urban concept. In both, we have to figure out how do we add to a quality of life. Let me take the non-urban first. The non-urban context is about getting away from cities. It's about intercity travel. It's about getting into the wilderness, coming into tune with yourself. Those are where we have to build objects of individual expression, objects of desire sometimes we call them, where people really use vehicles to identify themselves. And I am saying categorically today that that segment in India is going to explode. Because with the bigger highways, with the better cars, with the desire to experience our large country, you're going to see an explosion, and I'm going to say that SUVs will take the dominant share of that, for that kind of travel. As you look around our stores, you're going to see that Mahindra is extremely well placed in catering to those objects of individual expression. You will find many, many new variants that we have, new models we have, which will cater to that. The other context is the metro-centric concept. And there, given what is happening in our cities, given our population, we are going to have to move to a very, very different kind of context. And there I think we're going to have to make objects of collaborative living. If you're going to survive in metros, you're going to have to live in a connected way, live with concern and consideration for others, live with concern for the environment, and that's where shared mobility comes in. It's going to be connected mobility, connected to people through telematics, connected through people simply because you're sharing assets. When you look at that space and you see our pavilion, you will find that Mahindra is a leader in that area as well. We are also plugging into a larger system. We are investing in shared mobility companies because you're not going to sell just cars, you're going to sell cars bundled with services for sharing and connectedness. But finally, I want to say that we have one real serious advantage in that urban-centric space that nobody has, and that's because of the Mahindra Group. It's because we are a federation. Because in our group, we understand cities. We understand how they tick, and today, when you design transportation for cities, you're going to have to design them along with urban planners. They are not just going to be cars. We have built 2 cities in the group from ground up, Mahindra World City in Chennai, Mahindra World City Jaipur. We know about affordable housing, we are major players in that. When it comes to renewable energy, we are leaders in that space. And finally, even in art, music and culture, for designing that into the soul of a city, everything Mahindra does brings us that experience. So ladies and gentlemen, there will have to be a new expo about the future of living, not just an AutoExpo. And I dare say that those urban-centric vehicles will be displayed in that kind of expo. So may I end by saying that I hope all of you will join us as Mahindra attempts to define the future of living. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anand. You talked about future of living. Today in AutoExpo, we are talking about only a subset of that, which is future of mobility. And future of mobility is what defines everything that we have here in store for you to see, feel, and experience. But let me go a step beyond and say that the AutoExpo this year is a defining moment for the evolution of Indian automotive industry. And the reason I say that is that for the first time, you are seeing electric vehicles everywhere. And clearly, this AutoExpo is becoming the curtain raiser for electric vehicles in India. In your industry, in the media industry, when an event happens, many of you write that my publication was the first to talk about it so many months ago. Here, I think Mahindra can take pride in saying that Mahindra was the first to realize the future being electric vehicle. It was way back in 2012 AutoExpo that we had displayed our first electric vehicle. So EVs clearly have arrived. And EVs is, to my mind, all about what we call 3 C's. Clean, connected, and convenient. And frankly, when we talk about clean, it applies to everything, not just to electric vehicles. In fact, what you will see today, later when you go on that side, are the new set of engines that we are developing for meeting the clean BS6 requirements for our diesel and petrol vehicles. When it comes to connected, connected has clearly become the new buzzword. The expectation of customers in terms of connected vehicles is changing by the day. The technology is no more limited to high-end vehicles. And in fact, auto companies are becoming more of tech companies, just like tech companies are trying to become auto companies. And what you will see today, after having launched BusySense a couple of years ago, our latest mobility platform, something else ending in O, we call NEMO, next generation mobility platform, and perhaps the first cloud-enabled mobility platform in India. And when it comes to convenience, it is not just about convenience with the product, it's also about convenience with the purchase of the product, convenience with the ownership of the product. And Mahindra is looking at all these aspects of providing that convenience to the customer, which customer is absolutely expecting every time. And you will see a glimpse of that today. Before we move on to show you our electric vehicle portfolio, as Anand described, that future is not just about urban collaborative living, it's also about objects of desire. And objects of desire is almost synonymous to SUVs. And fortunately, Mahindra being an SUV player, we perhaps haven't had a start when it comes to objects of desire. So let me put one suspense to an end. We have been talking for quite some time about whether Mahindra will bring G4 Rexton to India or not. G4 Exton, as you know, is one of the most successful product launched by SsangYong. It was launched in May of last year, sold globally today. And let me announce today that Mahindra will be bringing G4 Exton to India. And not only bring it to India, bring it as a Mahindra branded product and not a SsangYong branded product. And the reason we are doing that is based on customer market research. We found that customers would like to see a premium Mahindra product in the showroom. So we will now unveil the G4 Exton in the Mahindra avatar, the signature Mahindra grille that we have designed specifically for the Mahindra product. It will not be called necessarily Rexton, but it will be a Mahindra branded product. So I request Anand to help me in unveiling the G4 Exton as a Mahindra Rexton.
Gentlemen, please yourself. This is our first offering right here at the Mahindra Pavilion AutoExpo 2018.
भैया फ्रेम से आप फ्रेम में आ रहे हो स्टिल क्या कर रहे हैं भाई यार
Alright, so we will be moving on to the next section. So requesting you to just right me behind. So all you need to do is just turn right behind, and the ones who are on the dais on the top, if you can just come down, because this is going to be the next offering from Mahindra right here at the AutoExpo 2018. So ladies and gentlemen, one great hour to look forward to. This is going to be our next one. Right here, so get your positions here.
So let me just say that product launched in this calendar year. Now, what we have here is concept design it is based on the theme of live young, live free. And I believe that it really personifies the theme very well. Based on UV platform and brings out the ruggedness, the toughness of the TUV right there for you to see. And I believe it defines freedom in a new way. The first ever SUV convertible design in India. Anand?
you get a 360-degree view of our latest offering at Singapore you run well. We're so happy right here at the Mahindra To Unveil AutoExpo 2018. Let's go to it now. Take this off against Mahindra Singer.
चलो चलो अगली गाड़ी में चलो
आप भी आगे आ जाओ यार सब आ जाओ Friends, with the media, we like to tell you, we move on to the next side. Please come to the other side, not from the top, but from the other side to the LYLF zone over there. We assemble over there for our next launch. So kindly be around on that side. Requesting all the media members to be on the opposite side because that's where you're all going to get your photo ops. So please request your.
I now request I request Mr. to take you through the rest of the products on electric vehicle platform and some other concept. But before I do, I just also want to point out towards the middle there is a Formula E M4 electro car. This is the car that get 3 podiums in 4 races so far. And do spend some time with it. We have Formula E team here, and they will be happy to answer any questions. Rajan, can you take us through the
Yeah, sure. So, continuing our clean, connected, and convenient pillars of the mobility solutions. We have to showcase to you today what we call as UDO. UDO is our compact two-seater electric mobility pod. It is neither a motorcycle nor a car. It is a unique mobility driving object where you don't need to balance it with your feet. It's something that you can accelerate your fitness with a jungle. Thereby, you can factor the last mile and continuously charging the battery and with easy range, improving your fitness as you go around general of the objective missions and evolution. So this product that we want to launch is a product for urban mobility. It takes care of your aspirations and helps you to navigate your way. It's both an object of desire and an object of mobility. The next one that we want to show you is what we call it as Atom. Atom is a fast mobility product. It's about shared last mile mobility, last mile connectivity. It is yet aspirational. You can drive it and give you the convenience of an air conditioned vehicle. It is obviously a minimalistic design. We have maximized the space, reduce the footprint so that the advantage of range and miles is available to the customer. This is definitely going to lead to a very fast adoption of electric vehicles in India, and we believe that this will be the future and will be in the race for quick conversion of the last mile connectivity for the smart cities that are coming up in the country. Can we have the AV for both video and backup, please? I'd like you to have a look at the AV. All this on the screen. Can we unveil this, please? Yeah, unveil them.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we're moving on to the next section now. It is going to be over on the side. So if you just stand in front of the car over there, you're going to get the best possible pictures. So just assemble in front of the car, facing our EV zone. So everyone can be expecting you to be there. Well, also joining on stage, we have Mr. Vijay, Chief of Sales and Marketing, Automotive Division, and Mr. Mahindra, CEO of Mahindra Electric.
So friends, continuing our onslaught of electric vehicles, we want to showcase to you our e-KUV, which is the electric KUV. It's about an SUV that comes with electric powertrain. It is going to retain all the benefits of the SUV and have the electric powertrain move you around. And then we have a three-wheeler, which we are calling as Trio. Trio is a lithium-ion powered swappable battery three-wheeler for commuting, and it is going to be our faster adoption of electric vehicle platforms in our portfolio, and it is going to be launched this very year. We also have E2O Next. E2O Next, friends, as you know, comes from E2O that we launched 7 years back, and so far we have more than 3,500 vehicles running very successfully with more than 50 million mileage of data with us. Based on the feedback, E2O Plus got created, and now we're going to create E2O Next with all the customer inputs, desires, and it comes with a full infotainment system that will maintain the connected and the convenient pillars of our electric mobility delivery. So these three vehicles, and combined with a new powertrain and a new architecture of the platform for taking care of the convenient pillar, I would ask Mahesh Babu to come and share with us our new electric platform as well as the architecture of the mobility. Go on with it. Okay, so we'll unveil these. Unveil them, please.
Yes, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Showcasing right for you. This is the future of mobility. Stay down because we're going to give you the perfect opportunity to get your pictures done. So kindly request you to be there, we'll be getting our pictures done. So requesting all of you members to kindly stay down because we have one more launch coming up. You'll be able to see better if you're down. Or if launch होने वाला है, you'll see better if you're down. So kindly requesting you to stay down. So requesting you please. Okay. So we have more products, so many requesting here, so everyone can get the perfect view. And also can we stop the music in the front?
Friends, one second. Friends, I am happy to unveil to you India's first ground-up electric platform, what we call as MESMA, Mahindra Electric Scalable and Modular Architecture. The scalable is from A segment to B segment cars, and it's modular built from a hatch, sedan, and aluminum. The architecture is to reduce the time in launching various products from Mahindra. This reduces the time of new product launch, and now we would like to unveil MESMA, the new electric vehicle architecture platform.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Sir, look here.
Friends, I would like to unveil the next product. India's first dedicated electric mobility platform based on cloud, NEMO. NEMO stands for Next Generation Mobility Platform. It brings the entire EV ecosystem in one platform. NEMO leverages 65 million kilometers of electric kilometers of Mahindra's experience to build in architecture to give benefit to the customers, and it enables shared mobility services spanning corporate mobility, ride-hailing, and car sharing. NEMO is omni-channel, supporting desktop, tablet, and mobile app. I would like to show you the NEMO app, which is for all the stakeholders on EV system. Can I have the AV, please?
For the mobility is electric. Today, Mahindra is proud to have the widest range of electric vehicles in India. For India's Vision 2030 to come true, fleet adoption of EVs is critical. And with Mahindra's experience from multiple initiatives and pilot programs, we now understand the needs of electric fleet owners and operators. For operational convenience, fleets require solutions to optimize vehicle performance, battery management, increasing driver efficiency, and many more. To address this need, we are introducing NEMO, a cloud-based electric mobility platform that enables a new generation of shared, connected, and electric mobility services. NEMO is designed to connect multiple stakeholders on a single platform: fleet owners, operators, drivers, passengers, and charging infrastructure providers. Mahindra electric vehicles recently crossed 65 million kilometers on Indian roads. This gives us access to rich data relevant for Indian conditions. Leveraging this data, NEMO provides fleet owners real-time visibility and better control of their assets. Using predictive analytics and machine learning models, NEMO can improve battery and vehicle performance. With NEMO, fleet operators can now run multiple electric mobility services on a single platform. The future is electric, and NEMO is powering tomorrow's movement.
Mahindra Electric, pioneering tomorrow's movement.
So friends, here with all the experience and the platform and the learnings, the knowledge of NEMO, we also going to launch our Cosmo bus, which is 26 and 32 seater. It comes with state-of-the-art battery management system, as well as an e-motor that is developed in partnership with TN4 of Canada. It will be a product that will change the connectivity pattern within the country. It is also one of our new products for clean, connected and convenient mobility solutions. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
So now we will also like to, before the Q&A, friends, as part of the convenience that we are talking about, we also have leadership of future as a new initiative, which my colleague, Mr. Vijay Matra, is going to talk about.
So, I'd like to say that when it comes to providing digital customer experience, I dare say that Mahindra have been pioneers, and it goes back to the launch of XUV in 2011. We've come a long way from there when it comes to providing customer experience through digital transformation. And I think we are also again at the cusp of another huge transformation going forward. On the 30th of January, we launched our SUV.com digital platform and the initiative of taking the showroom home to our customers. But today we are here to talk to you about the dealership of the future. What we are attempting to do over here is we've identified a new category of customers who we call the butterfly customers. They are ones who are online and offline before they make their decisions and their journey of purchase cedes. So our endeavor over here is to integrate all our digital platforms and bring it into the real world, into the dealership of the future, where we provide a unique customer experience, and at the same time, we are able to create smaller footprint in high footfall areas through lower investment for our channel partners, a unique experience to customers. Three of the highlights that I'd like to talk about the dealership of the future is a virtual reality experience that the customer would get there. the ability of using a multi-touch table to configure their own products and ultimately seamlessly connect that to larger than life screens and be able to experience what they are purchasing. I would request all of you at the end of the conference to step across at the back over there and visit our dealership of the future. Thank you very much.
So I would like to thank you all for joining us here today. We will be around if you have any questions. Specifically, you want to know what will be launched when. We will probably announce that there, but let me sort of take a suspense out by saying this product that you see here, the product that will be launched in the next 6 months. One of the two products that you saw there, I won't tell you which one. One of the two products that you saw there